Today we woke up to several decisions about with the Supreme Court, but today the important one was that a lot of people looking at was the citizenship decision on Trump versus Casa. So basically, it was a case about the birthright, whether under the 14th Amendment, an individual by physically being born here is automatically a citizen, which they've been interpreting that 14th Amendment for many years as yes. So obviously Trump ran on this issue, has made it a priority for him. And so one of the first things he did when he took office was sign an executive order saying, we want to attack that, we want to change that, we want the citizenship be based on your parents' citizenships, on your parents' history. And so indirectly, he's trying to get rid of people coming in just to have babies to become citizens. That's the practical of it. So when he did that, there was a lawsuit filed saying that's unconstitutional. President Trump can't do that. Several lawsuits, specifically 3 of them that are issued here, decided that the preliminary, we're going to put in an injunction, so this can't go into play until the Supreme Court hears this case and goes to trial and the whole process. Let the process take its toll. So when they did that, the Trump administration appealed the decision to put in an injunction. And this was a federal injunction, so it encompasses the whole United States, every federal district in the United States. And I think we have like 90 or so. And so that's typical. The last several years on major cases that affect the all-Americans pretty much, it's typical that a federal judge will put an injunction. And that's been Republican judges, there have been Democrat judges, independent judges, so it's all spectrum, whatever the issue may be. And so when they heard this case, they put a ruling saying, so what Trump was saying is, the judge does not have the authority, equitable authority, to put an injunction the whole United States. It should be only limited to the district where the lawsuit was filed, and that's where it should be limited. And it should only be limited to the plaintiffs, the people that actually filed the suit, not everybody in the United States that might be affected. So that was his appeal, is we think the judge doesn't have the power. So this morning, the court, in a 6-3 decision, which is along party lines, stated that, in their opinion, the federal courts do not have the authority to do a national uniform injunction. Now they talked about this in this case, but indirectly, and I think they're stating as a whole for any other case that might come up. So this is a huge impact on just in the legal process, not just in this issue of birthright. They never even got to that issue, which they will later this year, probably in October, on whether or not the birthright issue. But this is more of a legal process, you can say, a powers issue. Who has the power? This federal judge trying to limit this president, or who's the one that's going to have the final say so? So that's what the case was about. Now, interestingly, the courts in their judgments, in their opinion, stated that they went back to a case in 1789, which governs the judicial, the federal judges, and the federal judges get a lot of their power from Congress. And they're stating that Congress never gave them the authority to do a whole national uniform injunction. 1789. And so what they're saying is they don't have the power just to put their hand down and now we have a federal national injunction. They're saying they needed to tailor that injunction to that area, to that plaintiff, to that issue. Now, what's going to happen now? Okay? Well, the case is going to go back to the federal courts where they started, and the instruction of the Supreme Court is you need to limit your injunction to tailor it more to the plaintiffs and to the area. Now, the ultimate decision is still down the road about whether citizenship is legal or not, right, on this birthright issue. But I wanted to talk about just a little bit how this could impact other cases, because we could have a Democrat down the road get elected and on day one do an executive order saying we are going to ban assault rifles, kind of like Clinton did back in the day. Well, now if somebody here in Texas, East Texas, says, well, I'm going to sue because I have a right under the Second Amendment to bear arms, they go to Tyler here to the federal court and file a lawsuit. Well, now what this law is saying, or interpretation from the Supreme Court, is that federal judge is going to be limited to just put an injunction for this individual that filed suit. this area, not the USA. So in that situation, we could have somebody in Washington, the state of Washington, nobody filed suit, or they filed suit, but the judge says, no, we think he has that power. Well, then now you're going to have different states with different issues dealing with assault rifles. So I think as a lawyer and as an American, I think it's troublesome, some of the opinion as to the practical aspect of what's going to happen in the future, because it can go both ways. Whether Republican or Democrat, it can come back to haunt you for the issues that you care about. So that's why it's an interesting case that could have multiple effects down the road. What this means is they never got to the issue of birthright, whether or not this is constitutional. So don't be scared that if you're pregnant and you have a kid tomorrow, that he's not going to be a citizen just because you were born here, that they're going to look at your parents for citizenship. That doesn't apply yet. Once the Supreme Court down the road, probably October, decides that, then that's what that would come into play. But like I said, this has nothing to do with underlying issue. This is just more of a logistic, legal basis of whether or not the power of a district judge to issue a national injunction. But eventually we'll get to that other question.